Hey everybody, in this video I'm going to walk through how you can complete the painting workshop side quest that you'll come across as you explore the overworld in Expedition 33. So I will say right off the bat though that this is definitely an end game type quest, so depending on where you're at in your playthrough, if you're early on, don't expect to complete this anytime soon. That being said though, I will try and keep this as spoiler free as possible if you still want to watch it, just to get an idea of what you need to do and like the rewards that you'll receive if you're curious and things like that. So you shouldn't really see anything related to the story in this video. However, you may come across like some new characters and abilities depending on where you're at in the game. So just keep that in mind. Alright, so with all of that out of the way, just kind of a quick rundown of how this quest works and what you need to do. Ultimately, this will end with a boss fight that you need to complete that takes place in this arena that you can see in the back there. However, before you complete all the steps, that's walled off and you can't get to it. So in order to deactivate that wall, you need to bring this statue here 3 different items, which you can also find in this area via these 3 different paths. So you can kind of follow the blue line up to the top there. Each one of these correlates to an entrance that you can find out in the overworld, which we'll take a look at here in a second. But basically for each one, go through the entrance. You'll start at the top there. You'll have to kind of platform your way down. However, halfway through, you'll run into the faceless boy, and then if you talk to him, he'll ask for help. If you say yes, he'll give you one of the 3 items. There's the color of the beast, the light of the beast, and the shape of the beast. So you'll get that item on each one of these paths, finish your way down the sort of platforming obstacle course, and then give it to the statue. So once you do that for each one of those 3 paths, that will then kind of deactivate the wall back here, and then you can begin the boss fight for the final step of the quest. But real quick, just showing where the 3 entrances are located on the overworld map. So first you've got this one on this island, and you can see they're pretty clearly marked with the painting workshop icon, but you can see that one on that island there. Next you have this one, which is just south of Monoko Station. And then finally, you can see the last location here, which is part of the reason why this is a more endgame type quest. Not only is it's sort of located out here in the last part of the map, but it's also up in the air, so you have to get to the point where you get Esquia's ability to fly as well. So you can find that one here. Okay, so now that takes us to the hard part of all of this, which is defeating the boss in this area, which in this case is the Lampmaster. So I personally did this with my characters in the level like 60 to 65 range. I honestly don't know if that's high or low or what the expected level range is for this guy, but he does have a ton of health, and it took me about 14 minutes just to grind out and finish the fight. That being said though, he does have a pretty limited moveset, so once you learn that, after practicing a little bit and getting the timings down, I just kind of, dodged and parried my way through that and put out as much damage as I could to get it done. That being said, I haven't really I haven't gotten deep into like trying to super min-max builds or anything like that, and I've been pretty casual with my stats and whatnot, so there may be some builds out there where they can do a ton more damage than I can and make this fight a lot easier, but I'll kind of share the strategy and the build that I used to help get through this fight. So starting off with my party, I used Lune, Mael, and Monoko for this and primarily utilized fire-based attacks and built up burn damage throughout the fight. So I've got a few Pictos and things to help enhance that, like double burn, which as the name implies doubles the number of burn stacks that you inflict, which works out pretty well, as well as a bunch of other Luminas equipped. There's quite a few of them, so I won't go through them all. However, a couple callouts, I have things like Energizing Start to give me more attack points. I kind of focused on things that gave me that, and quite a few damage increase abilities like Inverted Affinity, Glass Cannon, and some things like Augmented Counter to increase counter strike damage. But going through these, you can kind of see all of the ones that I have equipped. Probably the most important one though would be Painted Power, as that allows you to go over that 9,000 damage cap, which you don't get until the very end game, but make sure you get that turned into Lumina so you can use that for all of your characters as well. Also, if you need additional Lumina points to add more perks, you can find a ton of extra Color of Lumina underwater in the overworld. This can be done once you increase Esquia's relationship high enough to unlock his underwater ability. So looking at my other two characters, you can see they've got a pretty similar setup. Mael also uses that double burn ability in most of the same luminas as Lune. And then for Monoko, he does not use the double burn, which is pretty expensive at 30 points. So I dispersed those around a few other perks, but it's still a pretty similar setup. And then taking a look at the weapons I used, if you're curious, this is what I had for Monoko, which was really nice. As you can see, it gives your party attack points if you use a skill that matches the mask wheel, and then 2 points if it's an almighty mask. And then this is what I had for Mael, mainly just because of the damage that it had. And then finally, the weapon for Lune, which also had a nice attack point generation perk as well. Alright, so now back to the actual fight. As mentioned, this did take me about 14 minutes to get through, so I'm not going to show the entire thing. However, I will try and highlight all the important parts, starting with going through all of his moves. So he does have a couple different kind of standard combos that he'll do, which after some practice aren't too bad to dodge once you kind of learn it. And you can get an idea of what he's going to do by watching the prompt at the top middle of the screen. So for this attack with each arm, it's a 7-hit combo that starts with this pretty long opening windup, followed by a number of sword slashes, and then finishes things up with a slam attack at the end. So I just focused on dodging through this one. I didn't worry about parrying, and after practicing a little bit, learning the timings, getting through this one's not too bad. Next up is the flying combo. This one's a little bit easier in my opinion, as it's only a 4-hit, but it does have similar sword swipes at the beginning with the first 3 attacks, and then he finishes things up with his 4th attack by retreating and then coming back with a dash attack. And then finally for his standard attacks, he's got this vast ball of light, which is a pretty easy single jump counter that you can do. And that leads us into his special attack, which powers up by this lamp ritual move that he does. So when he does this, you'll see 4 lights activate. And if you want to deactivate it, you'll need to keep track of the order that they light up. So once that finishes, you can then shoot the lights in that same order. That will do a little bit of damage as well as cancel the attack. That being said, I didn't actually want to cancel this, as the sword attack that the lamp ritual powers up is pretty consistent to parry once you practice it a bit. So I would use it as an opportunity every time to get in some additional counterattack damage. You do have to be careful though, because if you do miss that parry, this can insta-kill you. So make sure that you get comfortable with the timing before you try and do this throughout the entire fight. Alright, so while avoiding all of those attacks throughout the fight, here are the primary skills and things that I use to put out damage. Starting off though, you'll notice that at the beginning of the fight, all of my characters pretty much have full attack points, and that mostly comes from the Pictos and Luminas that I touched on in the build. So that allowed me to immediately open with the Hell attack from Lune, which does some nice burn damage. You can see I get a critical there, while also being enhanced by things like Inverted Affinity and Roulette and whatnot. Not only that, the burn stack gets doubled by using that double burn Pictos from 10 to 20 as well. And then with Monoko, I use Brass Allure Smash, which matches the balanced mask on my wheel, so that does even more burn damage, but also generates some more attack points because of that weapon perk, which leads into Mael with now having 9 points, so I can use Pyro Release, which also does burn, stacking that up to 56. So I pretty much exclusively used that Hell and Pyro Release attack with Lune and Mael through the entirety of the fight, just to keep that burn damage stacked. You can see though that by parrying through that Lamp Ritual sword attack, you can pretty effectively regenerate those attack points pretty quickly, as now basically my whole team's back at full power. In cases though where I didn't have enough attack points with those characters, I would just do a base attack, which would give me 2 attack points because of that energizing attack Pictos. And then for Monoko, the other main attack I used for him was Creation Void, which you can get basically right at the very end of the game before the boss if you don't have it yet. But that can do a ton of damage, especially if you get lucky with the roulette effect of the 2 times damage. So basically just trying to generate a bunch of AP throughout the fight to do these high level attacks, which is also at the same time filling up the gradient attack bar. So in this case, I used Monoko's level 3 gradient attack, Breakpoint, mainly just because I was curious. I hadn't used it yet. My weapon, unfortunately, is light damage based, which he's resistant to, so it didn't do a whole lot of damage. However, it does fill up his entire break bar and then break it, so I do get a stun out of it. The other gradient that I use later in the fight is Monoko's level 2 skill Sanctuary. I like this one quite a bit for survivability in fights like this, as it not only heals all of your party members for 3 turns, but also gives them all 2 shields. So that's basically 2 free attacks on each of your party members with no damage. And given when I used it as pretty much the end of the fight, kind of guaranteed that I would be able to make it all the way to the end. So wrapping things up, after you're able to get through all of that, here you can see the rewards that I got. So we got 2 Pictos. One is a level 30 Death's Door Pictos, which increases damage by 50% when your health is below 10%, as well as 1800 defense and a 34% increase to critical chance. And then also an energizing attack level 30 Pictos, which is +1 attack points on base attack with 895 speed, as well as additional 17% critical chance. I also got 3 Grandiose Chroma Catalyst to upgrade weapons, and then 1 Recoat. However, that's not all. After you're done with the fight, make sure that you go and talk to the faceless boy who's near the exit. After you go through that, he will give you a Perfect Chroma Catalyst, which will let you upgrade a weapon to level 33, which I imagine is the max level. I haven't done it yet, but I'll leave you with that. Thanks for watching, though. I hope you enjoyed the video, and we will catch you in the next one. Bye.